Welcome to the World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
Welcome back to the World Awaits. How are you all? How's your week been, Belle?
I'm sorry, Kirstie, I can't hear you over the lapping turquoise waters of the Maldives. Sorry about that. Actually, all right, full confession, we are pre-recording this bit because as we're going to air, I am lolling about on Niama private island in the Maldives. It is tough. There is an underwater restaurant. There's also overwater restaurant stuck up in the treetops. I'm not going to tell you anymore now. I'm going to report back to bring some balmy Indian Ocean vibes to the podcast on my return.
Can't wait to hear about that property because it looks spectacular and there's amazing surfing there. So I can't wait to hear all about it and your surfing escapades too, Belle.
So
And if you're listening to this on Thursday night, I'm actually winging my way to Europe for a Viking cruise for Carry On, which I'm super excited about. And if you want to see I'm up to on one of Viking's newest ships, you can follow me at Kirstie Writes.
But before you do that, stay tuned because we have new research from money.com.au which reveals that more than a quarter of Australians have lied about the cost of their holiday to friends or family. So either lying to avoid judgment on how much they spent or lied to make their trip sound more impressive. Have you ever done that, Kirstie?
I think I am the world's worst liar. So I've never, ever been a good liar because one, I do not have a poker face. So you can read me like a book. And also, I wouldn't remember if I lied. So then I drop myself in it later on. I'm terrible lying. I don't even lie about small things like, where I'm going and what I'm doing because I would absolutely be caught out. So I just don't do it. So I just have to suck up the judgment of telling the truth.
I'm not going to dissect whether I'm a good liar or not because I don't know. I just haven't really thought about it. But better to say nothing at all, I think. To quote the Ronan Keating phrase, right? Yeah. So while I might not, you might not lie about downplaying the cost, but it seems that a lot of us actually do because the research showed that 10% of us downplayed the cost of a trip to avoid criticism from family or friends. I would probably fall into that camp. 9% exaggerated their spending to make their holiday seem more lavish. Definitely not in that camp. And 8% have lied both ways, depending on who they were talking to. So yeah, I think I'd be in the downplaying camp rather than talking it up because that's just being a little bit boastful, isn't it? Unless, of course, it's whatever you're talking it up.
Yeah.
Like the Maldives. Maldives.
Yeah. So millennials were the most likely to lie about how much their holiday costs, with 45% of them saying that they would lie. And that was followed by Gen Z at about close to 40%. And money.com.au's finance expert Sean Callery says that Aussies are caught between wanting to look like savvy spenders and wanting to show off. So amid the cost of living crunch, some Aussies want to appear to be travelling with a sense of financial responsibility. And to them, going all out and blowing money on a holiday feels a bit reckless. But others like to stretch the truth to make the trip sound just a little bit more glamorous than it was.
Well, when it comes to Gen X, 24% of us and just 9% of baby boomers admitting to bending the truth about their travel expenses. Older Aussies were more likely to say they don't discuss their holidays with others. I think that's probably a good way. That's my just don't say anything thing, although I am in the gang of talking about the price of holidays. And also nearly half of baby boomers and a quarter of Gen X saying the same, that they're in the camp with me. They just don't talk about the cost.
I think it's good to share because, why not share so other people learn? And also, the thing about lying about holidays is that it's kind of obvious anyway. So when you love travel and you travel a lot like we do, it's pretty obvious how much we all know sort of roughly how much a flight costs like to Europe from Aussie or whatever. So, and also when it comes to hotels, I mean, you can just, if you were really that keen, you could just Google it and when I'm writing stories about hotels, I often just do a fake booking and see how much it is just so that I can write about it. So you could do that about a friend, right? I mean, I personally wouldn't waste my time unless it was for a story because, who can be bothered? But, and food and transfers are pretty easy to estimate too. So I reckon you could work it out if you really wanted to.
It's kind of like Googling the cost of a Christmas present, isn't it? But, well, I think unless you've got, the bargain of the century, because I do love sharing a good bargain. So maybe I'm definitely not in that overestimating camp. Yeah. So just please don't ask me about the Maldives, how much it's going to cost us, because I might just have to lie. No, I won't. I'm here for the truth, because that's what you come here for, because here on the pod, we like to keep it real, right?
This week we're talking Tahiti. So just a matter of weeks ago, I was in Tahiti for the first international yoga festival being held on this stunning tropical paradise. The festival was organised by Rani Shays. Now, she was in the corporate world and threw it all in for a more meaningful life. So she's originally from Tahiti and she splits her time between Tahiti and the US. And she was going to hold the festival in Tahiti a few years ago, and then the pandemic hit. So it's taken her about 5 years to get it off the ground.
That is absolute dedication. And I love stories like these. So let's start with telling us how you get from get to Tahiti from Australia.
Yeah, she's got a great story. I mean, she was very senior in the corporate world and both in the travel industry before she decided to just give it all up for wellness. So I started my journey in Melbourne on Qantas, which has a code-share partnership with Air Tahiti Nui, and you fly via Auckland to Papaisi on Air Tahiti Nui. And I flew on the new Mavana premium class, which was created because the airline wanted to sort of enhance that offering. So it already had a premium class, but it's actually enhanced it and renamed it. And this new premium class means that you get fast security check-in lane. Oh my God, who doesn't want that? And priority boarding. And you can shop up large too, because you get two 23-kilo bags, but not that you'll have time because you'd be doing all the other amazing stuff there is on the island. You also get champagne, and there's multiple meal options and cute little amenities like bamboo socks and a bamboo eye mask and a toothbrush and earplugs. I always forget to take a toothbrush in my carry-on, and I think it's such a great thing to have when particularly if you're doing like this route from Australia where you're going via Auckland, because you can just stop, and when you hop off to do the transfer, you just you can freshen up a little bit. And there are only 35 seats, super comfortable seats, I might also add. And I did write a review about it if you want to read a bit more on that, which we'll put a link in the show notes on Carry On.
So tell us about this world first festival for Tahiti. So whereabouts exactly was it, and how many days did it go for?
So the festival ran over 3 days, and it's held at the Tahiti by Pearl Resorts, which is actually on a black sand beach on the east coast. So the west coast has the white sand beaches and the east coast has black sand beaches. Such a stunning location. I mean, just picture sort of this beautiful 5-star resort with a gorgeous garden and ocean backdrop and swaying palms and beautiful black sand beach. So it was it was a great location for a festival like that.
It just doesn't. The black sand thing always weirds me out a bit. But let's get into the yoga. So, what sort of sessions did you do? I mean, I do love a bit of yoga, and I know you do as well. So, let's tell us about the sessions in the festival.
Yeah, love yoga. So there were lots of yoga sessions, but it wasn't just about yoga. It was, really diverse in the offering. So each day they have, and you can do this again, obviously, this is an annual festival, which is why we're talking about it, because you can do it next year. It's going to be in November 2026. So there are 2 sessions running at each time slot. So you can choose what ones you want to do. So for instance, one session might be on one day, might be at, say, 11 o'clock or something, might be activating your inner warrior. So you're thrusting your arms about, making whatever noise you feel you need to, because it's all about having no inhibitions. So freeing yourself. And like Rani says, it's about peeling back the layers. So it's about not being, just letting go and letting go of and letting go physically and mentally, because then you're just letting go of anything that's worrying you at the time. So, and not being conscious and worried so much about what anyone around you is thinking. And I really got that vibe from the festival. It was so nice. It was just, everyone was very just there for self-love, and to get a sense of their own being and freeing themselves up. And so that really came across really strongly. So there might be a session like that at one stage, and then at the same time in a different room or in the garden, there might be something about sort of, a breathing workshop or a cultural workshop. So I did One cultural workshop that I did was with Tainui Malateste from Ta'ati Whenua, who has, so he runs cultural workshops through his organisation, and he has had a table of bamboo flutes in front of him in the garden, and they're called vivo, and they're played by the nose. And he said these specific types of flutes are only played by the nose here in French Polynesia, and it's really important to him that this culture stays alive because it's a traditional culture that's otherwise going to be lost. So it was really interesting because he told us that the air that comes out of your nose cannot lie, curse, and blame. And this is why they play the instrument with the nose at sacred ceremonies, because it's the purest air of your body. And oh my gosh, it was tough, like trying to play that flute with the nose. You would have found it quite hilarious watching me. But he just played the most beautiful. Belle's cracking up laughing with her visions of me with a flute on my nose. But he did it so beautifully. And and so for Rani, incorporating culture is just really vitally important into the festival because, she said, obviously, the Tahitian culture is so sacred. And for me, coming from Australia, it added so much value to my experience because it's not only are you learning about these traditions that would otherwise be lost, these really important cultural traditions, but it's about back to being mindful. So you're sitting and you're learning and you're taking in these beautiful scenery and this beautiful environment, and you're actually focusing on something, mindful and learning something and a craft, which is so good for your wellness and your well-being. So it's a perfect fit to be at a yoga festival. And while I was there, I actually sat down with Rani and Alka, who is a yoga instructor and a teacher and a life coach. You have to look her up. It's Alka Yoga. She is remarkable. She's based in the States. And we had a really good chat about why yoga is so important for your well-being, why, Rani decided to hold this festival in Tahiti and why it was so important to her to do it there, and some things that you can do and that you can learn and take home from this festival, because Chirani, that's what it's all about. It's about having things to learn that you can also take home. So take a listen. So Rani, tell us a bit about why you wanted to start the Tahiti's very first yoga festival.
I've attended a few yoga festivals the past few years, and there was so much transformation happening with all the different classes and conferences we're attending. And I had organized one Tahiti Yoga Festival in 2020, and everything was ready to go, but then COVID happened, so it never saw the day. And after that, I never really, had the strength to pick it up again and redo everything. So it's been 5 years since the first one, and this time was different. I mean, it felt ready. I had grown as well, and also with everything that is happening in the world, it felt like we needed that space here in Tahiti. We needed to connect people in a different way, through something more, mindful, joyful, and also reconnect people to the culture, to the sacredness of life and to the essence of life. And that was the whole thing behind it. It's just like we need a space where we can all come and surrender and just be and just flow and not think.
And were you surprised at, the response to it? Because for me, it was so much more than a festival. For me, it was such a really moving, emotive sort of journey about self and well-being. Did you find that is that sort of the response that you've been getting?
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to create. We wanted to create this sanctuary where you can just come and be and drop all the layers and drop, all the masks and all the responsibilities and really be with yourself and be with others. And so, yeah, the aim was to make something really experiential. Not about just yoga, but also about our heritage as Polynesians, because there is a beautiful heritage here in the islands, and the wisdom that we have here from our ancestors really, is connected to all the different ancient civilizations as well, and the way they were doing things and thinking and being in harmony with nature and with one another. So that was the idea as well, was really bringing the collective together, but for everyone to be able to go within and find something, find their treasure, basically.
Amazing. And do you think that the differentiation factor for Tahiti and one of the differentiation factors of doing yoga here is, one, obviously this beautiful, exceptional, stunning environment that we're in, but also like you said, the cultural immersion and also learning about these traditions that would otherwise be lost, which is something that I found really valuable when I was here.
Yeah, because we all often think of yoga as just like what we do on a mat or in a studio. But to me, yoga is what you find in just like admiring a sunset or watching the sunrise, or here like seeing the moon rise behind the mountains. And the culture here is so rich, and it's really it has this very sacred aspect and the reverence for life and nature that we have kind of lost a little bit in our in our modern world. And so it was important to integrate all these elements together, because I think like yoga is also teaching us how to go back to our roots, to our origins, and clearing what needs to be cleared as well, so that we are better human beings, so that we bring more light to the world, and so that we also, by healing our wounds, we heal other generations' wounds as well. And so that makes us, better people, more people that are more aware, self-aware, and also more mindful of what is going on in our lives and around us.
Yes. And it was remarkable how many people were here from all over the world. Was that something that you were hoping to achieve?
So yeah, it was the original idea, but of course, it was bringing everyone here, but meeting like locals, meeting the world as well, through all these different sharing and meetings and encounters. And I think it brings a lot of richness to a space when you have people coming from all different walks of life, but also different countries.
Yeah, amazing. And Alka, you've been one of the really important presenters here, and are very, very experienced. Tell us a bit about your experience in the industry, and also you explained when you were doing your presentation about the meaning of yoga and the significance of it. And I felt that when you did that during that presentation, that was a really powerful point and a valid point about the reason why really that we do yoga in the first place.
Well, yes, thank you for, taking the class and notice that, because I think that's one of kind of my job as a yoga teacher, as a lot of yoga teachers, to actually teach what the knowledge is behind the experience. Being this festival, what Rani has put in together has been very profound to me, because this is the festival that she brought so much, like she said, so much culture into it. Was very intimate, the connection. And I feel very blessed and grateful to be part of this experience. Like you said, there was people from all over the world. And I think that was her intention from the beginning, to bring this union of culture and also share with people, not only yoga, but what actually community is about, connection is about, and especially what's happening in the world. We need more of this connection, equanimity. So I feel like being part of this festival, it's really such a profound experience, and hopefully that everyone can do something like this in their lives.
Yeah. Absolutely. And tell us a bit about you're explaining sort of the real meaning of yoga and what it means. Tell us those 4 things that you were mentioning, because I thought that was such an interesting concept.
Well, I've been in this yoga wellness and teaching for 25 years now. And like I said, one of the things for me is to not teaching people the asanas, which are the poses, not teach people about the breath, is what the experience is about. What make yoga such a profound is that you don't need to believe in anything. It doesn't require your mind to actually to understand, to believe, to know what is this about. It requires your experience, so you feel it, right? You come to yoga because it feels good. That's good enough. But you keep coming back for a reason. You keep showing back for a reason, right? Something that's happening. I never met anybody that goes to yoga and said, I wish I had not gone to yoga. You might drag yourself into it because it requires sometimes a motivation. But once you go, you said, I feel so good. But what's happening actually when you understand the knowledge behind the experience, there's more value every time you show up in your mat. And that's what becomes such a profound practice that you want to do it over and over again and applying to your life. So the principles of yoga that I share in my class is that they are these clouds. We call these in Sanskrit avidaya, which are misperceptions, things that we cannot see. But the problem is that how you know when you are in the cloud state. How do you know that you're not in a place of clarity? So your words, your thoughts, and action can come from a place of certainty and not cloudness. So yoga teach us very for basic, but very challenging. And you see like, but that is so simple. But we're going to see yourself every day in those layers that's going to show up in your life and show up in your mat. The first one is the ego. So every time that you have that sense, I am right, defensive, right? You're like, I know I am right. And you want to be defensive. You also feel in your body. Your body is this incredible instrument that allows you to feel, which is right in your gut, in the solar plexus, right? So you feel here, I want to defend myself. So that's the first layer that tells you already you are in a cloud state. The second one is attachment. We wanted things not because we need it, but maybe because it was pleasurable for us yesterday. We tended to cling to things, to people. So that's the second layer that you can also know that you're in a cloud state. The third one is aversion. Aversion is something that you are closed-minded. You've never been there, you never experienced, you just not even want to try. The fourth one, which kind of goes a little bit with aversion, but that's fear. Fear to take a risk, fear to believe in yourself, or maybe you already been there, you got hurt, and you're gonna close yourself again, and you just don't wanna do it again. That's it. That's very simple, but those are the 4 principles of yoga. And why it makes such profound when you come into your mat, it's like your canvas. Everything that is happening on your mat, that means the way you breathe, the way you feel, the way you move, the way that you think, the way that you actually experience is the way you are off the mat. So you start applying this knowledge into your life. So you have what? More certainty, more clarity. And that's how you start unfolding those layers that start to help you to be more present. And you are present, the probability for you to make a mistake will be 0 because there is no like trigger sensations anymore in your body. You are relaxed, so you are very clear, which in Sanskrit called vidya, which is the opposite of it. So therefore, you start to become a little better, not perfect, because that's not the message of life, but better than yesterday. And then years from now, I'm sure you're like, wow, I'm so much better. This situation won't trigger me anymore. And that's when you go and show up to your mat, to our practice in yoga, there is this value that you actually start taking to your life. And imagine if everybody started doing this, what would be the world?
Yeah. Yeah, true. And we put so much pressure today on things like, oh, I have to find my purpose. I have to how can I be of service to the world? But we put a lot of pressure. And instead of just surrendering to what is, sometimes, we just want to, project so much that in the end, we stay stuck in that ego of like, oh, why I. But and it's true, yoga is teaching us how to actually be better connected to everything that is going on without actually being caught into it, and just keeping that space between us and everything that is happening, and having the clarity to say like, oh, wait, what you're doing right here is not right. You're into that state of ego or, aversion or of attachment. And it's learning that self-mastery in the end of like, okay, this is happening and I can see it, but I can distance myself from it and come back to a space where it is, there's no attachment or no ego and, or none of these things. And yoga is just amazing with that. It gives so much clarity and it teaches us really how to be self-aware.
Yeah, I love that. And then if you think about, so what is really that we start feeling it? Your body. Nobody knows where your mind is. And I mentioned this in class. Your mind is where your attention is. So what do? We teach techniques. Constantly the teachers say, inhale, exhale. Inhale, bring your arms out. Bring your gaze to the middle finger of your right hand. That's your mind goes right there. Take a deep breath in, relax your jaw. These are all techniques to help you to stay present. And how you stay present? with the feeling, sensations in your body. That's why it doesn't require your mind, require your experience. Are you breathing? Are you become aware of the sensations in your body, right? So we also have the senses. The senses is a good communicator for you before you do anything. And that's the greatest teaching. And I don't think all of yoga, of any spiritual teaching in general, the teaching of the art of non-reaction. And that's when we take these powerful tools that we have into the yoga, can be one of them, but it helps you to stay more mindful. Imagine if you take a breath before you say anything.
Yeah.
Noticing when you say anything, there is no breath. And sometimes relax, take a deep breath. Even we already do this, right? You don't have to even be in the yoga world. It's something that it's instinctively that you know the power of the breath. And that I thought also the breath work, it can actually really shift your entire nervous system because it allows you to stay more relaxed. So I think yoga has become more and more popular because it's an experience, regardless of you believe it or not. The same with breath work is a technique. You don't need to believe in anything. I'll teach you, we'll show you, you feel it, and then you're like, holy moly, this thing works.
And amazingly, I mean, just even after a few days, I can feel that works, like that feeling of presence and more clarity and calm. Just even after it. So people can do it just, obviously just for a day or two. So we're back again next year, Ani.
Yes.
You heard it here first on the World Away.
Yes, Ronnie. No, it is amazing. And I think we don't realize that we think, oh, it's a weekend and then I go back to my life and everything is the same. But it cannot be the same because you have shifted a lot during the weekend because you're fully immersed. I mean, the whole day you go through meditation and breath work and cultural experiences that also have so much wisdom. And it shifts a lot within, sound healing and all this. So it all works together to create it's really shuffling everything in your system. And then, you finish the weekend and you feel like, oh, wow, what happened? But it stays with you, and it's going to keep, unfolding things, for weeks, for months, maybe. And the idea is also for everyone to be able to take something home. As Elka mentions, it's just techniques, but there's a lot of different things, all these rituals of self-love and applying this, self-massage and, these little rituals you can do with flowers and plants, how you breathe, how you express yourself, how your voice has the power to really change something within you as well. So all of that, if you apply it to your daily life, and we're not saying, go and, stay in a cave for a whole day and do nothing and meditate. That's not the thing. We live in a modern world and we have to deal with everything that is in our modern world. But you can retreat for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can go to bed and lay in bed. You're okay, I'm going to breathe now. Inhale, on count of 3 and exhale on the count of 6 to really relax the nervous system. So it's a lot of different tools and these amazing technologies that we have. And our parents or grandparents, they didn't have these tools. They didn't know. And so we do have the tools now. And so we are able to apply it in our daily lives. And then it is, do we want to do it or not? Where do we want to put our attention and our focus and our energy? And as we say in yoga, where your attention goes, your energy goes. So if you're always in the mind and looking at, your phone or listening to the news and things like that, you're not present, and you just work as automatic pilot. So it is coming back to this state of being conscious, being intentional with everything we do. And it doesn't require us to be a saint or a yogi or anything like that. It's just us as humans. We're here to experience this life with all its gifts and its challenges, but always doing it in a way that is finding the gifts in everything, even in very difficult times. Because, to be honest, this festival is a miracle because, everything was so challenging to put it together. Everything, there were so many different things. And at one point it was okay, maybe we're not meant to do it. But something happens no, we need light, we need joy, we need we need to bring people together because we need to be able to surrender together, to breathe together, to cry, laugh, sing, dance together. And spaces like that are powerful in that way because we all support each other. And, like teachers like, Elka, I mean, I'm so grateful and so blessed that she's been with us. We've been very intentional with the teachers and guides we have invited at the festival too, because they all embody what they teach. It's very easy today to walk around and say, I'll do this and that, but are you actually embodying it? Is it what you are actually about? And that was important to us. We really wanted something very genuine, very authentic. And that is what we actually created, thanks to all the guides that we have invited. And we said, okay, let's create this together. And all of the offerings we had is not something you find in a yoga studio or on an online training. Everything was crafted and curated for the festival to make it really special. And sometimes we think, oh, it's going to be the first one. Ooh, it's going to be so messy. Let's wait for the next one. But to me, first ones are always so beautiful because it's the first vision, the first seed you plant. And it's so precious. And then it can only grow in such a beautiful way, and it doesn't have to be perfect. One of my teachers like, oh, if you're perfect, you're dead. But it is about being alive, being vibrant. And I think that's what we could find throughout this weekend is that aliveness in the culture, in the wisdom, and in every guide that help us create that space.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I certainly felt that. Absolutely. So thank you so much for your time. And it's been so great chatting with you both. And I hope to see you again next year.
Yes.
I love that, Kirstie. I love that you can hear the passion that comes through. And I hadn't really thought about yoga in that way and how there's so much power in transforming the way that you think and feel. So while you were in Tahiti, was there anything else that you did that you think is an absolute must do?
Okay, so this one you cannot miss if you go to Tahiti. Put this one on your to-do list for sure. So there's a 40-kilometre four-wheel drive tour that you do with, I did it with Tamana Tahiti Tours, and it takes you right through the centre of Tahiti. So you literally go from Papua Nui in the north to Matai in the south. And you go from the very north to the very south, straight down the middle of the island. This is a remarkable experience, but be warned. I mean, I was white-knuckled gripping that four-wheel drive. So we're standing on the back, right, holding the bars, and we're standing up. You could take your shoes off and you can just stand on the seats and you're holding onto those metal bars. And these four-wheel drives go so close to the cliff edge, and they cliffs just cleave down into a valley, and you can't even see the bottom of the valley. It's that extreme. And it is just sort of equally frightening and exhilarating and beautiful and just such a remarkable experience. It is just, the reward is that, you're surrounded by these trees and plants that are so green, they're almost luminous. And in this valley because he talks a lot, the guides, about the flora, and in this valley is this plant called ape. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, APE, and it's basically the elephant ear. And these plants are so big that you could actually just wrap yourself in them. That's how big they are. They're like huge leaves. And you learn about all sorts of things about the importance of them and how all these plants are used in ceremonies. And we stopped at a giant chestnut tree, and he jumped out and got this big rock and started hitting the base of the tree with this giant rock. And then the sound just vibrates. This amazing sound just vibrates throughout the whole forest. And that was how he was saying the traditional mountain clan used to communicate. It's just such an incredible spiritual experience. And then you also stop in it like a private little lagoon. So you're in the middle of nowhere, and you just pull up to this crystal clear, beautiful lagoon and spring, and people were clambering up the cliff face and jumping in. It was just spectacular. And when we came out onto the west side, because you come through, and then they come out, they call it, you come through the west and you go through this tunnel, and we came out, and there was just this like clouds, like rising like steam off the top of the mountain. It felt like you were in the clouds. It was just incredible. And then going back down again, because then you're sort of venturing down to come back out to the other side, and then you drive all the way around the west side of the island back up to Papaʻisi. It is just spectacular, just the most beautiful scenery. But yes, if you have vertigo, probably not one for you. And I mean, they say that all ages can do it, but I would say if if you've got a bad back or something, it's probably not a great idea, because you sort of it's very bumpy. It's just you're on. A lot of it is not concreted, or most of it isn't actually. And then the other little thing I would suggest to do is go to Weimar Springs. So this is not very big, and it's quite unassuming and it's all over socials. It's VAIMA, this spring, because it's very well known for its healing properties and really pretty. You can see it on my socials. But it's actually surprising, because it's actually off a really busy road. So you're pulling off this road into the car park, and then all of a sudden there's just the spring, and there's lots of locals go there. And we bumped into one local woman there, and she said she came there every day because the waters are so healing and she loves it. And there's a man who's there. Almost, they were saying, the people that, the locals that were with us, that basically there was a guy there who is there every day, and he feeds the eels. So there are eels in there. They don't bite, they're freshwater eels. And we said to one of them, do you eat the eels? And they're like, oh my God, eels are sacred in Tahiti. You don't eat eels. And we were like, oh, in New Zealand you eat eel. But anyway, there you go. So, and I stayed at the Hilton, which is a stunning property in Papaiti if you're going to go and stay somewhere. Gorgeous property. It's got, you had breakfast in the overwater restaurant, which looks over the property's reef. So there's a reef with all this beautiful marine life, and really close to, say, the markets and and the shops, and so a great spot.
Kirstie, thanks so much for taking us on this magical journey to Tahiti. I am going to invigorate my much ignored yoga practice. And if you are similarly inspired, jump on to see Kirstie's fabulous socials from there, and at Kirstie Writes on Instagram, and on the show notes on the website or your podcast app for all the details.
You're listening to The World Awaits. Subscribe through our website at theworldawaits.au.
Our tip this week is about how to tap into the spirituality of the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain, even if you can't commit to the full walk.
Yes, I love this. So the full pilgrimage walk actually goes from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France across northern Spain to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, and it's 812 kilometres long and takes 4 to 6 weeks. But of course, not everyone has time to do that. So Kate Baker, who's the general manager of UTRAC, says they're seeing travellers wanting to experience the walk in a quieter way, and not obviously who can't do that extent, that's so much, that full 812 kilometres. And she says the beauty of the Camino isn't that there's just one path. So there are many, and they all offer a little bit of culture and character of their own. So she's suggesting 3 lesser known routes to explore.
Firstly, the full Via Francigena route stretches more than 1,000 kilometres from France through Switzerland and Italy, finishing in the eternal city of Rome. But the Italian section of this iconic trail that they've picked out takes 10 days, starting in Orvieto, through some of Italy's prettiest regions, combining rich history, Roman ruins, medieval towns, and world-famous cuisine.
Then there's the Portuguese coastal Camino, which taps into 2 big travel trends, walking and Portugal, which is super hot right now. Described as being more peaceful, this is a 12-day trip, and it starts near the city of Porto, crossing the Spanish border by foot, and then you reach the holy city of Santiago de Compostela. So you do actually qualify for that Compostela certificate, which is rather nice.
Yeah, and then they also have they're suggesting the Camino del Norte, which is the northern way. And this follows the northern coast of Spain through San Sebastian, Santander, and Bilbao. And I was fascinated to learn that this became an alternative route that was more popular when the original route became dangerous due to the Moorish invasion on the Iberian Peninsula in Spain and Portugal. Also, it was cooler in summer. And as an absolute bonus, you did not have to cross a mountain range as well.
And the final suggestion is Camino Primitivo, the original way, which King Alphonse II of Asturias journeyed to Santiago to see the bones of Apostle James, thus kicking off the great walking holiday trend. And today, the Camino Primitivo links the northern way with the French way, walking through the villages of northern Spain. Oh my God, just talking about these is making me want to book a walking holiday, Belle.
Yeah, I did a little. I followed some of the Italian route years ago, walking in northern Italy, and it was just magical. And I actually met a guy who was a pilgrim on the way and walking all the way down to Rome. But these are such great ways that you can bite off for a much shorter trend, and that is of these journeys for mindful travel. Utrax says that travelers are choosing these Camino-style journeys for mindful travel as a chance to slow down and disconnect from digital noise, as well as cultural connection, and you can experience local hospitality and centuries of shared pilgrim history. And it's also accessible with trails suited to fit all fitness levels. So you can either go the full commando and carry your pack, or, have somebody do your luggage transfers and support, which is very, very nice. And they say that this sort of travel gives purposeful exploration with a sense of accomplishment that comes from completing a meaningful journey. And having done a little section of that in northern Italy, I can absolutely agree.
Yeah, I reckon any hike gives you that sense of accomplishment for sure. Absolutely. And particularly when they're days long, it's amazing. And such a great way to immerse in a place. And if you'd like to hear more from an expert in walking the Camino, scroll back to one of our earliest interviews, way back episode 8, where you can meet Glenys Johnston, who's the owner of tour company Walking the World. And at the time, she'd walked the full Camino 35 times. So, have a listen.
And we'll put the link to these walks with Utrax and Glenys's interview in the show notes.
And we'd love it if you followed us on socials. You'll find us at The World Awaits Podcast on Insta, Facebook and LinkedIn. And feel free to drop us a line at hello@theworldawaits.au. And if you're loving this episode or any others, please give us a rating and review.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.